What's up? Thank you for passing by. My name is Phil. I am from Mints and Drops, and today I had the pleasure to sit down with True Voodoo, the almighty lord of Discord. He's running Potluck Protocol, which is a cross-system amazingness. He's doing everything. I had the chance 2 months ago to sit down with him on his show, and now we're flipping back the mic. He's on Mints and Drops. Enjoy. That's absolutely perfect. True Voodoo, what's up, man? Thank you for passing by the show, man. I appreciate you coming by.
Man, I appreciate being invited. It's always good to chat with you. I know you came on our show, so
Yeah.
it's an honor to be on yours.
Hey, man. I had a blast, actually, on the show. Like, was it a month, 6 weeks ago?
Yeah.
I had a blast, and yeah, let's reverse the mic, right? So, man, how you been?
Been good, man. It's a crazy, obviously a really tough time in crypto because even if you feel good, like even if you just have your H bar bags and you're not affected by FTX or just the general market sentiment isn't swaying you, it's still affecting your bags. They're
Yeah.
still down 50% from where they were 2 months ago,
Yeah.
so it's a tough time. I think when you zoom out, that's what I always do. When in doubt, zoom out. And so I think when you zoom out and you look at where the space is heading, and hopefully, I know you've got an H bar crowd, and I've got a more of a cross chain audience, but I hope that all the chains that we're on have a good future. But I feel super strong about Hedera, and it's great to see so much volume still going on with some of the collections, especially some of the really hyped builders on Hedera. I think are having a lot of success right now. And so, yeah, man, I think right now you just got to get through this. I don't know that it's going to turn around in a week or 2 weeks. In my mind, we're in like crypto winter. So crypto winter is going to last a while. So it may be a year. But as a builder, building for the future, I think it's all about being able to stay in business while you build a business. And so it's just being lean and mean right now and trying to find ways. I think for all builders, both on DeFi and NFTs, you got to find ways to make profits that that are sustainable, And so I think that's really where our focus is. And yeah, man, I'm excited. What about you, man? What's your obviously I know you as just a super optimistic guy. And so when you go through times like this, man, what's it, how's it weighing on you?
It's the same thing, I treat Mints and Drops the same way I guess I would treat an NFT project or any creative projects, right? Where right now it's snowing AF, outside it's really cold. There's a cold blast. Rain, storm, crazy outside, and I'm just building. Like you guys, I never look at subs. I never look at likes. I don't look at the time that we were going to pass here. The only thing I want is for me to become an even better, asking question kind of guy, or even better listener, even reaching out to even more people. And taking much more of the time to really listen to the person that's right in front of me. That's my quest, and that's my goal, and that's where I always sit. That's where my candy is at, and that's the building part of me. But yeah, man, we'll get through that another time. This is all you today. But I mean, you talked about building, and you're one that's really building, and I can 100%, 1000% vouch for that. And especially since you're doing cross chain, which I believe we need right now, since we want to have a bigger pie, right? We don't want to have bigger piece of the pie. We want to have a bigger pie at this time, especially since right now it's kind of slow, quote unquote. Your Discord is absolutely insane. How do you do it? There's so much. No, it's true. It's crazy. I encourage everyone to go inside your Discord and look what's up. How do you balance things out?
One, we have a really good team, man. We have great mods who we have really great community mods who are just great at dealing with any issues and welcoming new people. But then we also have really smart mods who can, they've written tons of Discord scripts and things to really create value And yeah, we have a really complex Discord because we're unique in that we've helped
Yeah.
build, around 50 projects right now. And some of those not 50 individual, but when you count the Gen 2s and
Yeah.
Gen
Yeah.
3s and that type of thing over the last year. And we want to give every artist, because we're just coming alongside the artists and helping them provide utility, marketing, and vision, roadmap, community, trust in their project. But it's still at the core, unless it's a potluck project, at the core, it's their project and they're going to lead it to the promised land. Essentially, we're just going to be there to
Mhm.
support it. So we have channels for every project, but a lot of our artists have their own Discords as well. Where they're much more involved with their community. But obviously, when people discover the project, sometimes, we're the landing page that they go to. And so, yeah, it's really, to me, it's not about balancing or how do we manage it. It's about we have potluck, and our goal is to make sure that every project we have is a success for the holders, the mentors, the people still holding can receive value, and then it's successful for the artist. We believe if an artist is going to partner with us to bring their project to life, that it has to be more profitable for them and more successful than if they did it on their own. And so we're
Mhm.
always striving to figure out how we can
Yeah.
do that, and do it better. And right now, it is a tough time to build because pavements aren't really doing well unless you have a massive following that's been with you for a long time.
Mhm.
You have a lot of hype, like especially on Hedera. The OG projects or builders, if they come out with something new, like it's gonna fly, like the Creamies lands and the even the Barboons, even though that was the first drop. I mean, that was somebody who's building in the community for a year plus. So I think that that's what you're going to see sell out, or projects that have really unique utility. But I think projects that are really just focused on art right now are going to struggle. And so, as someone who's trying to build more than just art, we want to have art first, great projects that people can appreciate just the art, but we
Mhm.
want to continue to have more utility, and more value. And it's weird because the meta is always changing on what people want
Yeah.
for
That's
utility.
true. That's
Um,
true.
and what's interesting, like seeing on Hedera, I see a lot of utility because I feel like the ecosystem, because it's newer than some of the other ones we've been on, it's like they're experiencing utility and experiencing use cases that have already came and went as the meta on the other networks we've been on. So like metaverse plays or the land, the stake
Mhm.
for NFT projects, a lot of these things came and went in their popularity. And so it's interesting to see. You just got to be flexible and adapt to what that chain wants. So I'll give another like example. Well, Phantom was art focused, man. People didn't care about
Yeah.
utility. They just wanted awesome art. And if the art was awesome, that was its own utility and the value would go up because people wanted to own like that sick artwork. Then we went to AVAX as our first cross chain journey, back in January of this year. And they just cared about DeFi. Like if your project didn't have some type of token, some type of yield, some way that they could make money off of it beyond just the value goes up and you flip it, they weren't really interested. So that's where we came out with our token, our labs token and stuff. So I see on Hedera, I see the same thing. There's not a lot of DeFi opportunities to invest in, not a lot of real protocols building yet. They're coming, but that means a lot of the tokens that you can trade or swap or whatever farm are all like NFT project tokens, which for me as an investor, I don't really see value in those long term very much, because it's hard to continue to make money from an NFT
Mhm.
project for the utility token.
Yeah.
But I can see the desire for people to make some money and sell them.
Passive.
So that's been tough for me because we have a utility token, but we don't have any desire for people to be able to sell it because I understand that makes you are a security. People are getting yours for the hope of value that they can then sell. And so
100%.
for me, it's a little scary for us, not just regulation wise, but also the expectation of the community where if the token becomes valueless, then what do you do? And so, anyways, that's a lot. I probably threw too many thoughts in there, but just as I'm thinking about the ecosystem, like Hedera is very interesting to me right now as far as just watching, even as a builder in here, watching what's happening, because I do see the other networks interested. I do see them coming. I think the Barboons did the best service, the way that they basically recruited influencers, and not just influencers like from namesake, but big NFT collectors in other networks. And however they got, whether they gave them a Barboon or just interested them to buy one, the attention that it brought to Hedera, I don't think anything else has done near what that collection did. So massive props to them
Mhm.
for the attention and the magnifying glass they put on the space. So
You've talked about trust. You've also talked about, a term that I really appreciate. That's in French, it's mutualisation, and I always talked about maybe the translation is mutuality. And you also talked about the fact that you can bring a good lens, even though we're kind of inside of a snow kind of period time right now in our ecosystem. I believe that what you're bringing, inside the ecosystem and throughout all the cross-chain work that you've been doing is mutuality in terms that this, and not sugarcoating it, but since we're so very few out on the H or even out, on other chains, and we can talk about the other chains you're in later on, you need each other. And the very good example is your Discord, which you're doing, the work that you've been putting, because this acts like a hub, literally like a hub where you can vouch for a project. You can go have, you can mint, of course. You can say good morning, great morning every time. You can have fun with people, but at the same time, you can get interest inside a project while discovering X, Y, and Z afterwards, and that's powerful, man.
yeah, I mean, it's our goal on the cross-chain stuff. Our goal, there's a couple things. One, from the skeptics' point of view, they see anytime a project goes cross-chain, it's like, well, they're just looking for new liquidity. And that's partially true. I'm not going to deny that you're looking for liquidity. Nobody would ever go, if HBAR had nobody buying NFTs, no one would come cross-chain to it. That makes no sense. You're going to where you see potential, you see a future. I mean, it's just like in America right now. I live in the Dallas area, and it's been one of the largest growing metroplexes. If it's not number one, it's number two, number three for the last decade. Well, why? Because there's opportunities. There's specific things that make it better. Like Texas doesn't have state income tax. So by moving here, you can save 10 to 15% a year or make 10 to 15% extra because you've saved on those taxes. You talk about standard of living, you talk about education, you talk about all these things. Well, now you go to the blockchain and you say, yeah, you want to make sure that one, is there liquidity there? But then also, is there what makes this special? What's going to keep it growing? Because like Aptos, for example. Aptos is a chain that came on the scene 3 weeks ago, and in 1 week it went from we started the chain at launch to in 6 days. It only took 6 days to become the number 2 chain in NFT volume. Well, that's crazy.
Proper
Well,
time.
why did that happen? Well, it happened because of a mass search for any liquidity right now. Anytime, any liquidity in the market for NFT buyers or sellers, like that's what they're looking for. But then what they realized was, well, there's nothing else here. It's just people. There's no real community. There's nobody building anything long term. It's just, hey, hopefully I can mint this so then I can flip it on somebody else and I make a profit, and then they're left holding the bag. And that's unfortunate, but do I see a potential in Aptos as a chain? I actually do. There's a lot of potential now. FTX kind of just screwed it because that was their lead investor. So I think there's a lot of tokens yet to be dumped. So I'm not sure about its short-term potential, but long-term, the way it's built, it's got some really unique things. But then you go back to Hedera and you say, well, why did we come to Hedera? Well, I came because of, first and foremost, one of our community members, Illuminati Congo, had been entrenched as a collector in the Hedera scene for a long time. And when we were talking about it, he's like, this is the most like Phantom. Like when we got into Phantom, Hedera is the most like when we got in. It's a super strong community, very passionate about their projects and super passionate about their chain. But the best is not behind them. The best is all in front of them. Like the building is just beginning there. And so for me, that got really exciting. And then the more you learned about it, the more you're like, man, yeah, if we can figure out how to build here, not just like release a project, but build platforms, build tools, like really become a core part of the ecosystem, then I think that's a huge, like, that's a very smart risk reward proposition right there. And so out of all the chains we're building on Hedera and then Shimmer, which is IOTA, another very similar
Okay.
situation, except they may be like Hedera a year ago, where it's just now like they're just getting their network live. They're getting EVM compatibility next month. So I see a lot of potential there for the same type of reasons, but it's an EVM chain. So it's restricted. It has the benefits of EVM and it's restricted to that, whereas Hedera has I think a totally different value proposition in the market. So yeah, for us, that's where our focus is. And man, I couldn't be more excited for the future on both those chains. Obviously, we still have Phantom. We love Phantom. I hope that it recovers. I hope that volume comes back to it. But at the end of the day, man, when you're talking about this cross-chain journey, there's a lot of tools right now that are in existence, but they're not perfect. And I think over the next 12 months, they'll really be perfected in interoperability to be able to have a collection on any chain and be able to bring that seamlessly to a new chain through ports, bridges, traversing, whatever you want to call it. Right now, there are tools, but they don't work on all chains. They don't work perfectly. But I think that's the benefit of the bear market is 12 months from now, I believe you could see a top ETH collection, not just port over and like have a bunch of issues, but
Mhm.
literally be able to bring their entire collection, their collector base to HBAR if they wanted. Same with the Soul project. And so for me, it's like, man, I see the potential there. It's not here yet, but if you can see the future, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that doesn't happen. But I think the future is going to be you have all these interoperability platforms that are going to allow DeFi protocols, NFT, protocols, I guess, brands to not die with a dying chain, but
Yeah.
to be able to move to where they see the future. And I think that's the beauty of HBAR kind of building in the quiet for all this time and not trying to be the flavor of the month, but really build for the future. Is I think that as long as there's still more tools developed, um, man, the sky is the limit. Like it could be a lot bigger than I think even people that are already maxis realize on the NFT side. So
Hmm. I think you touched on soul-based NFTs and even ETH-based. We were in a kind of a downtrend since maybe right after the summer, right? So this downtrend really started to really show like 1 month ago. I think it's important just to go out and see what's possible through other chains, through other ecosystem, and really see what's the bridge and what the solutions are at towards our very problems, whether that's on the XRPL, HBAR, ETH, and so, because down the road, who knows who will come out on top, right? Because
yeah,
this is so new, and that one, I do not think it will matter, because an NFT will not be called, in my opinion, an NFT will not be called an NFT. It just will be art for doing memberships, art-based utilities, staking, DeFi, and whatnot. But the term and the ledger or the ecosystem, you will maybe not hear the name. So, man, might as
yeah,
well just shake hands on it and hey, let's propel ourselves together.
yeah. I mean, and to me, that's like when you think about where are we really heading. Like the PFPs can only last so long. Um, and I think regulation is going to clarify a lot. I think the next year is going to be rough for people that maybe were hoping that it would never be regulated, and good
Right.
for those who have been like, man, yeah, once we have some clarity, then we can really build. Because
Mm-hmm.
with clarity, with the regulation comes the ability for massive investments to come in. Um, all the investments in crypto are going to be dried up by institutional investors and things right now until there's regulation. After seeing what
Yeah.
happened with FTX, with Voyager before that, I mean, if you can't even invest in a centralized exchange, then every other investment in crypto is even more risky to an institutional investor. But once you have regulation that tells you all the rules, and you can really make sure that if if we're security, that we're labeled that way. Like if
This is
everything
your playground, and you know where to play. Yeah.
exactly, and
Yeah.
that is going regulation has the potential. Some types of regulation could cripple if they take away the on ramps and off ramps. But if regulation just makes it so protocols actually have to be real businesses that make real money and have to disclose things properly, we
Mhm.
shouldn't fear that. Crypto is based on transparent, open ledger. We shouldn't fear having to be honest and open about those things. And so I'm excited for that, for the money that will come in from those things. But I think right now, like I mentioned earlier, just trying to find ways to build and be sustainable. I think, and this would be my advice, I guess, going back to the token situation on Hedera, I think you should, with anything that has a token, you should look at it and say, what is the real use case? Like, why would this value go up? Okay. Like, so what if people use the protocol? It's kind of like Chainlink. Like I don't even think Chainlink needed a token. They created one to kind of pay their fees on their network or for using their product, but they could have used ETH, they could have used anything. It doesn't make sense to me. Like they could have just been a company that made tons of money with their protocol. You just pay a membership fee, you pay whatever, but certain things don't need a token. So you got to ask yourself, like, why does this have a token? And what motivation do people have to keep it versus dump it? And I
Mhm.
think that is the biggest tough thing for NFT projects. I'll give you an example. Dust, which is the token for the gods on Sol. The only thing they ever did to give it real value, they have some analytic tools. So you have access to those things. But their biggest thing was the Ute collection, their latest one. You had to buy it, mint it with Dust. Well, this created enormous buy pressure. And if you go back and look at the charts leading up to the mint, it was incredible. But after the mint was over, the use case was gone. There's a one-time use case for a token. So if you did not just sell it all off, you're left holding the bag. And so everybody who bought it, and is holding it, they're down 90% in a month. So
Yeah.
I think that's the big worry when you're looking. I'm not going to name any names because I don't have a specific project in mind that I'm thinking of, but I know there's a lot of projects on Hedera that have tokens, that have LP, and you just have to ask, like, what's the motivation for people to continue to buy this versus they just get it for staking and they dump it. Because I think that's kind of a big deal.
It
When
is.
people are evaluating projects, a lot of them are evaluating, oh, they emit this token. Well, if the token's going to zero, then what value is that really? So,
Mhm.
um, and if you are doing stuff that's staking and whatever, like gamify it like the Creamies did. Their platform for the staking, the way they've done it, that's a fun experience. So even if the tokens you're getting don't necessarily have crazy intrinsic value, depending on the projects that you're staking and everything, you at least have a community aspect, you have a gamification of it, and you have something that people want to do and want to be a part of. And I think that's what sets apart what they just did. So
I agree. There's so many parallels that you can make, and I think that when you dive deep inside a project, I think the value of time truly comes into play real quick.
yeah.
And I've tweeted this a couple of times, and I've been hammering it down. And I think it's a proper way to go at things where we will need at some point in time, in kind of the short term kind of things, to categorize our JPEGs. So is that like, I'm top of my head, like, is that a flip? Is that long term? Is that utility based? Is that DeFi? Is that tokenized? Is
Yeah.
that one of one art? Well, cool. So that person that just comes in, even though he doesn't know who's the ledger or whatever the ecosystem is buying on, he just goes into tabs and, wow, okay, am I flipping this? No, okay, fine, okay, maybe not. And then, again, it's subjective, right? But am I keeping this long term and I'm playing it with DeFi? So maybe it can give a much more broader sense to what you're really getting into.
So you brought this up um, on our
Yeah.
broadcast we did, and we talked about the power of a brand. And I think that really it's resonated a lot with me and stayed, in my thought process since then, because I really think the only way for an NFT to have long-term value is for it to be a brand. Now that brand can be one, just a community with marketing that's like gimmicky, like Dogecoin. or
Mhm.
Shiba Inu, what they did, and I was really thinking about this, they created an NFT brand. Their token is an NFT. Their token is a picture of a dog that people want to be a part of. It has nothing to do with the actual token. It's like literally they just have people buy an NFT with billions of editions
Yeah,
each token, you know.
yeah, it's
But
true.
that's what created the community is that meme coin token, or really just that's like an NFT. So unless you have a brand, like even for the Barboons, you look at it and you say, okay, there's crazy hype, brings in money, lots of people want it, but then what sustains it? What keeps somebody wearing that PFP and not changing it forever? You know, it's the same thing. You got to like look at the Bored Apes or the Gods or whatever. And you got to say, well, man, these people convinced other NFT collectors, no matter how many they buy forever, this is the brand they want to associate with. So how do you do that? And I think those are the questions that NFT brands should be asking. Now, another way for it to be a brand is for people not to use it as a PFP at all, but the brand gives you access to tools. Like that's what the NFTer has done with the Woke Films, their collection. Is they have a collection that then gives you access to a lot of different analytical tools for Discord bots and things. Now it does make a cool PFP, but I was talking with Cantor, the head of NFT, the other day, and I was like, man, you don't need to worry about that. You don't need to worry about the PFPs and things. Just keep adding crazy, awesome utility that people are like, I've got to hold one of these because I need access to these tools. It's the same with those. What's the Mafia one that just came out?
Gangsters.
The Gangsters, right? So, I mean, that may make a decent PFP for a couple days, but that's not going to be a PFP that someone keeps forever. Just that style, people tend not to. But if I looked at the website, awesome website, really well done, but it's basically membership and access to, you know, gambling stuff, right? So once again, it's the brand is cool. It's like a casino type gangsters, and then you get access to their brand. And so I think that's the key for everything. Like right now, just my advice to artists and collectors is don't buy a project that's just art based with no utility unless you vibe with the art and you're okay just buying it to have the art to support the artist. And honestly, that's always been my thoughts. But like if you're an artist and you're putting out a project right now that's just art based, or the only utility is whitelist for the future or some type of access for the next one, then one, you either better do it real cheap or free, or be ready to cut the mint and just value the people who minted and not expect to make a lot of money. Like right now is about you either have utility or you just do a free mint or something, because that's what's selling. And so yeah, I mean it's tough sometimes for artists to hear, especially ones that are unemployed. And this is NFTs is their sole business, because like people buy art for art's sake with extra money, and when they don't have extra money, they can't do that. They can't support you. So I've seen it. I've seen a lot of artists, especially on Phantom. Like I said, it's very art focused. Who they still have the great art, and art that would have sold out at a high price 6 months ago. You know, they might sell 50 of them right now because people
Mhm.
just don't have the extra money. And so you just got to take that into account. You know, we're trying not, we haven't been releasing much. People are like, what are you guys doing? Like, well, why do you want a paid mint? Like, nobody's minting just a basic paid mint unless it's
Yeah.
been super hyped for a long time or has crazy utility. So we're just focused on like building the community, building the products that will surround and provide that utility people want. And, you know, we'll worry about paid mints when the market can support it. So,
So much to say, so little time. I because the variable too of store price comes in along really oftenly when launching a project, and then you go on secondary and you're wondering what's happening.
yeah.
So I've had this conversation with many leads, and every single time I say, well, Renault, first of all, we need categorize the whole thing. That's really important. And afterwards, time is always with you, but it's always how you get through that spot. Is it with your branding? Is it again with your utility? But no matter how you get there to this point, and you've talked about art being one of one. Again, a great project that comes to mind is Aliens. I don't know if you know about them. They launched 2 months ago. They arrived in the space, took us by surprise. 500 H for a mint. I mean, they just came in with one-of-one art, basically no real white paper that I know of, but Lee just came in with a plan, and that's what he's doing, and it works. So it's just how you get there to a spot where people just want to get in and want you to succeed at the same time. And that's what I always say, that, and at the same time, same thing with you, in a way that, not financial advice, of course, but life advice, where invest in the people behind the project. Do you
Oh yeah.
care about them in a way that is not cheesy? There's no fruit basket, no naked angels, but it's really true, where, man, do you care about, okay, first, what's this artist is doing? What's his plan? Well, cool. Pump his project genuinely in an organic fashion. Be there. Only this beats, in my opinion, even being there consecutively for all the mints, because you have support and
Yeah.
you're truly there. Like, hey man, that's a high five, that's a fifth bump, and we go. So
Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm not saying you can't sell out. Like obviously every chain, there's still collections that sell out. It's just instead of being the norm to sell out real fast, with now it's the exception. So
yeah,
what you
yeah.
could do is study, why are these people succeeding that are succeeding. I think in the bear market, community engagement is more important than ever, because the community that's left it's a lot less people. There's a lot less people speculating on NFTs and buying and staying around on Twitter. So if you're silent as an artist, or your Twitter's not active, or your Discord's not active, then
Yeah, I don't
why
know
would
what's happening.
somebody? Yeah, they're not going to believe that. Oh, you're just building, building all day. Like whatever, it's okay that you're building, but you need to do more. Unless you're a
Yeah.
one-on-one artist. You're a one-on-one artist, man. People want your art. Awesome. That's props to you. And there's plenty of great ones like that on
Mm-hmm.
Hedera. But when you're talking about generative, like it's got to be more than just art at this point. But yeah, man, I appreciate the conversation. Like I love what you do for the community. I love the Mints and Drops Discord. I love the support you've shown us. But really, like I would just encourage everyone to take that thought that you had. It's not my thought about branding, and about realizing that people want to be a part of a brand. They want to be a part of a community that they can vibe with, and that's not going to be everybody. It's going to be a certain group of people. So there's a book called Tribes by Seth Godin. It's a really short book, great book, but it teaches you about finding your tribe, and about finding like a small group of people that like super vibe with with what you're doing, and how to change the world with that small tribe. And I think that that's what you got to look at. You got to look at, how did the Barboons do it? They didn't do it with thousands of people. They did it with a small community who for months was pretty fanatical about it. And you just look at, then it becomes a big community. And I think one of the big things, if you feel like you're alone, it's just you trying to build a project and you have no one else, there's an awesome YouTube video called The First Follower. It's like the best YouTube video ever on leadership. And it shows, have you seen it, Phil? First
No.
Follower? All right, you got to watch it. Maybe you can even splice it in here, or send the clip in. But basically, it's someone at like some festival, and they're dancing in a field by themselves. And they just look crazy. Like everyone else is just like sitting on the grass or whatever. And this one person's just dancing like a lunatic, and nothing's happening. Just a bunch of people thinking they're crazy, until the first follower comes. And the first follower is the first person who gets and starts dancing crazy with them. And within seconds, the entire field is full of people dancing crazy because of the first follower. And so a lot of times, if you're a collector and you really believe in a project, be that first follower. Be the loud vocal voice, the person on Twitter, the person who's backing them up in Discord, the person who's championing the cause, because it doesn't matter how good the leader is. It's really about how good their first follower is. And then once you have that one follower, then you get a core group like that, and then you just
And then
figure
you're
out how
set.
to galvanize. Yeah,
Yeah.
and so I guarantee you, like if you look at Hangry, or you look at any of these people, when I think about the tweets I saw leading up for the minute, it wasn't from the Hangry Barboons account. It was all the other people talking about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So realize that that's the most important. So don't go like announce a mint date, or say you're going to drop something without first getting that I guess
That
the
juice. Yeah.
yeah, get those
Mm-hmm.
core followers behind you who are going to ride or die with you. And don't feel like you got to have a lot, man. Just get a few, and treat them like family, and you'll win together. So
Appreciate those words, man. That's true. That's true. Hey, before we hop out, what do you got next planning for Potluck?
so on the Hedera side, one of our artists, Minez and Mr. Minded, just put out the Mr. Misters collection. It's minting right now. Mr. Minded is an incredible artist, and Minez is incredible with lore, and he's a musician and just incredibly talented. But that collection, I would say 100% is art focused. It's art first. There's some really cool utility in the mint. Like 10 of the mints include merch packs. One includes painted physical. I'll actually show you. It's hard to see. Let's see. Okay, that wolf on the wall there, that is actually
Yeah.
a hand painted. There's my
Wow.
wife's cotton candy cart. Okay, so it's
Wow.
a hand painted canvas that was then they framed it and everything, but that's Mr. Minded. So the quality of that, he's going to take that NFT and hand paint it for the person
Wow.
who mints that one. So that's really cool. That's what's going on right now. Also, we have the Necromancers, which we released on Halloween.
Yeah.
Real small
Amazing art.
collection.
Amazing
Amazing
art.
3D. Yeah.
Amazing. Who does that? Remind me the
Her
artist.
name's Masha. It's Mosh underscore OW, like Mashal on Twitter.
Crazy.
She's an awesome. It's our first. She was like one of our maybe our third or fourth project we ever did was when she came on board. And this is the third generation of those projects, but it's kind of like a World of Warcraft theme. You got orcs, elves, now we have necromancers, and then the next collection are shapeshifters, and it's a cross-chain collection over 3 chains. And you'll be able, the next collection's just a free one if you burn the first 3. And so because of market timing and everything, like it hasn't done well on primary, but the art for this third one is better than the previous 2. And there's over 50 one of ones in the collection. It's incredible. But if you're a nerd, it's a really cool collection just to own them all. Yeah, me too. So, but then
Shout
we
out
have,
to all the nerds.
heck yeah. And then the last one I want to mention are 2 more, Philistrations, who did our Reefer Club, which was our first,
Illustration.
yeah,
Okay.
Philistrations is the artist name. He did the Reefer Club project, which is our
Yeah,
first
yeah,
mint
yeah.
on Hedera, and has done really well between the different collections, total volume. If it was all under one contract, it would have some really nice volume. But with that one, his next one's coming out. It's the FVCKERS, the fuckers, like
Oh,
that. So,
yeah, yeah.
it's
It's computing.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's like 80s retro arcade style. I don't know if you've seen the previews. I'll shoot it
I
to
did
you.
not. Yeah, yeah. I want to see.
Oh man, dude, it'll blow you away. I think it's going to be some of the coolest art on any chain. But he's been working like crazy. So that one's going to be coming out. Obviously we're going to hopefully time it with an upswing in the
Yeah,
market,
yeah.
of some sort, or at least not just,
Early next year for sure.
yeah, something. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
After the taxes.
We'll see, man. I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, man. Everyone, if they cash out for taxes, that's the thing, is there's no profits this year. So last year there's massive profits where people had to pay taxes. This year it's all losses. So if they sell, they'll be buying back like the next day, because they're just selling to harvest the tax loss. So it's actually, my dad's a CPA, so it's actually going to be we talked about it, and it's going to be very interesting. I don't see it being near as bad as the previous year, because it's just, but people might want to harvest those losses. So seriously, if you see big sales, expect a big sale and then an immediate buyback, because they don't want to actually be cashed out for a loss. They want to stay in the
Hmm.
market, but you might as well take those tax losses. But a lot of people, just because of how down it's been, how bad it's been, a lot of people probably won't sell off for that loss. They'll probably just continue holding that and carry it over to the next year. And so it's going to be interesting. But yes, so there's that. And then the last one is the Raw-boned Society,
Yeah.
the
Hmm.
second one, because we're bringing over, we have a collection done by a guy named Drip Bits. His ETH collection was the first collection I ever minted, or ever bought. First NFT I ever bought was one of his last July or August of 2021. And that collection ended up doing over 300 ETH in volume on Ethereum. He was at NFT NYC. He's got a video with Gary V, because they did a bus where they like got it wrapped for the project, and they had an NFT NYC, and Gary V came over and was like, "This is utility. This is awesome." So it was really it's a really cool video. Well, he has mutant apes, and he's real connected with a lot of big ETH communities. He's got a big following, like 12,000 people over there, and he's coming. This is his first artwork on any chain besides ETH, and he did the collection for Hedera. So that's another one where I'm like, man, if we realize the value and bringing over people from other chains, this is a huge opportunity. And he's psyched to have his artwork on Hedera. And so we're just, once again, kind of waiting. We've had the collection done for like 2 months, and it's just a matter of when the
Proper
time,
timing.
right?
Yeah.
Proper timing, no reason to rush it here. And so I think if people understand like the potential of what that means for the ecosystem, the new users it could bring over and stuff, hopefully it can get some great support. Plus, it's not going to be a huge collection; it's only going to be 500 pieces. So,
Oh, wow. Okay.
hopefully, it'll have some real good value. But yeah, man, I've talked too much, but that's what we
You
do
don't.
have in the pipe.
You don't. That's what we're here, man. That's why we're here, to preach the good word, and just to hear what you have to say, man, loud and clear, just so for people to see it, it's important, to type, because Discord gets fun, at one point, and Twitter and all, but seeing and hearing, is absolutely essential in my opinion. That's why I started this out. Thank you for passing by, man. Again, thanks just for taking the time to preach your message. I appreciate really what you always had my back, way back, and best of success leading on with all your projects, everything you do, cross-chain. It's the key to me. And
appreciate it, man. It's an honor to be on your show, and you are a great listener, and you're a great host.
You.
So
thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you, brother. Thank you for passing by. Have a great day and week.
Thanks, man. Yeah, let's see how many crypto exchanges can make it through the week. We'll be. Oh, come on. All right, bro.
Take care, man.
See you on the web.
Take care.